Okay, so we're still doing like favorite scriptures through the different chapters of the Bible, and today we are at Genesis chapter 5. And when I was going through this, I was like, oh no, I forgot to mention two scriptures in Genesis chapter 4 that I thought were kind of fun. And I'm going to go back. And so Genesis chapter 4 says in verse, 20, Ada gave birth to Jabal, and he was the father of those who lived in tents and raised livestock. And his brother was named Jubal, and he was the father of all those who play the harp and flute. And then Zillah had a son called Tubal-Cain, who forged all kinds of tools out of bronze. And I thought that was kind of cool because it just talks about the first men that were gifted in certain capacities in certain occupations. So you have those in tents and livestock. He was a father of those who played the harp and the flute. My kids love music, and so when I read that, I thought that was pretty cool. And I'm like, I wonder if we trace all the way back to this dude. But anyway, when we start studying the genealogies of the Bible, we need to understand something. A couple of things here is that the genealogies in the Bible that are here are really to map us down into Jesus. So once Adam fell in the garden with eating the fruit that was forbidden and sin entered in, God is going to show this redemption process through the genealogy. And you get the genealogy in Matthew, in the beginning, and in Luke, and it's all tracing back. So there's a lot more kids and a lot more people that are born, but the Bible doesn't really pay that close attention to those people because we're looking for Jesus. So ever since Adam, we're looking forward to Jesus, and then so that's why in these genealogies, it'll be specific to a specific person, and you know in that person that when it highlights him, most likely it's because Jesus is going to come through that line. So that's what we have here in Genesis chapter 5 is the descendants of Adam. And what I liked about this in here, there's a couple of things. Number one, it starts out, now I'm reading from a different Bible today. This is the NIV because my husband went to a prayer meeting and my Bible is in his car. So we'll read out of the NIV. And the NIV is more poetic and more, it's kind of easier to understand. But it says, and this is written the account of Adam's line. When God created man, he created them in the likeness of God. He created them male and female and blessed them. And when they were created, he called them mankind. And verse 3, and Adam lived 130 years, and he had a son in his own likeness, in his own image, named Seth. And Seth meant compensation. And what I like about this is because when God created Adam, he said that let us make man in our image. But now man has fallen, and now man is sinful. So now when Adam has Seth, it says out of his image and out of his likeness. So I thought that was kind of interesting, making that, yes, we're still, like the Godhead being a triune person, body, soul, and spirit, but there's a little change here. So I thought that was noted. Now, in this genealogy, some people can say, oh, it's just a bunch of names. Well, there's some really cool stories with these names in here. And one that I love and I've always liked is the story of Enoch. And Enoch, I'm trying to find it. Like I said, I'm in a different Bible. Enoch comes in, and we have the New Testament talking about him. And let me get it. He is verse 21, and it says, okay, so we're in Genesis 5:21. And Enoch had lived 65 years. He became the father of Methuselah. And after he became the father of Methuselah, Enoch walked with God 300 years and had other sons and daughters. There you go again. Other sons and daughters, other sons and daughters, other sons and daughters, it'll say over and over. Altogether, Enoch lived 365 years. I always think that's funny because it's the calendar year. You know, there's 365 days in a year. That's just what I like. Anyway, but verse 24, Enoch walked with God and then was no more because God took him away. So here Enoch, it says, walked with God. He pleased God. God was pleased with him, and he was faithful to the Lord, and he was no more because God took him away. Enoch did not die. God specifically took him out of this earth for a reason. And I love that because, you know, he's kind of like a symbol of the rapture. And I'll tell you why that is, because Enoch bears a son. The next son is Methuselah. And Methuselah, we find out in Luke chapter, let me get it here. Luke chapter 3, verse 37. When you look up his name in the Strongs, it says, when he dies, there shall be an emission. So you're thinking, why did he name his son when he dies? When Methuselah dies, there's going to be an emission or a ridding. And why is he doing? Why did he say that? Well, we actually find in the New Testament in Jude chapter 1, it says, verse 14, and Enoch, the seventh from Adam, prophesied, saying, behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000s of his saints to execute judgment upon all, and to convince all that are ungodly among them of their ungodly deeds which they have ungodly committed, and all their hard speeches with ungodly sin have spoken against them. These are murmurers, complainers, walking in their own lust. Their mouth speech is great swelling words, and they have men's person and admiration because of this advantage. But, beloved, remember yet the words that were spoken before of the apostle of our Lord Jesus, how that you were told that there should be mockers in the last days that should walk after their own godliness of lust. So Jude is saying, hey, Enoch prophesied. He was a prophet back in the Old Testament, saying, hey, the Lord is coming and judgment is coming. And so Enoch was actually a prophet into this. You don't think, oh, really? Yes, he was a prophet. And so when he had a son, he named them. When Methuselah dies, there's judgment. And isn't it interesting that Methuselah, jeez, my mouth this morning. Methuselah had Lamech, and Lamech had Noah. And within just, you know, it was about 100 years or a couple hundred years after Methuselah died, the flood came on the earth. So here, I mean, the world just quickly after Adam to Seth, the world had gotten so bad that God was going to send down judgment already. And I thought, wow, isn't that interesting? But what was Enoch's testimony? And I think this is interesting. Enoch's testimony was that he walked with God and that he was faithful. As you read in Hebrews 11, he's part of the hallmark of faith as well. And so here we're living in, to me, a similar lifestyle that he did, where we'll find in the next chapter, it says that man's heart were wicked continually. And, you know, I find that interesting because then God gives us this hope of Enoch that he just was not. And what does that remind us? I'm getting all these texts, sorry. That reminds me of the rapture. And so here is this hope that Enoch was walking with God and that he was not. And then my timer is going off for my sourdough bread. So I don't want that to burn. And I don't want anybody to burn, but the world is going to burn. And so God says that we're going to be taken out. We're not appointed for the wrath of God. We're going to be taken out. And Enoch was taken out. And then came the judgment. And as the rapture, the Lord is going to take us out. Then the judgment, the final judgment of the earth. So I see these two parallel things here. And so then it goes on that Noah was 500 years old, and he became the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And so Methuselah, the one that said when he dies, there's going to be judgment. He was the longest living man that is recorded, 969 years. So God's grace was extending. But he's looking at Methuselah. When are you going to die? When's judgment? It's like a long time. So hang on in there, guys. We've been on this long stretch of waiting for Jesus to come back. But stay faithful like Enoch so that one day, in a twinkling of an eye, we'll be out of here too. So I hope this helps and encourages you. Genesis chapter 5. Have a good day.